All right, so welcome to the CAMPS Emerging Technologies Group, a part of the CAMPS Innovation Committee, where our goal is to help keep manufacturers aware of new methods to innovate their businesses. My name is Ben Marsh of Scout Systems, and with me,
I'm Jake Matei with Technical Tooling.
I'm Kirk Davis, Executive Director of CAMPS.
Excellent. And today what we're going to be focusing on is just discussing APIs. So what exactly is an API? Well, API stands for Application Programming Interface, which is ultimately, it's the software intermediary that allows two applications to talk to each other. So the best way that I could describe this is when you go to a restaurant and you order something off the menu, all you're asking for is the end deliverable. I would like the hamburger meal. Now the waiter is going to leave your table, they're going to go to the kitchen, and they're going to return with that final deliverable. They're not going to care about all the nitty-gritties, all the ingredients. You asked for the final executable desire, and they brought it to you. So in this example, the waiter is the API, and that kitchen would be a complex database that knows all the ingredients and all of the hows and what goes into building this process. And so the API helps bridge the gap between what the end customer wants and all of the details that are tied up within a software system. Now, the reason why we wanted to bring this one up today, APIs, they're not exactly new technology, but they are an essential part to help companies digitize and transform to be more innovative. Now, we want to make sure that the CAMPS members here are aware of this simple but yet powerful technology, and that businesses, they need to make sure that they have some type of API integration strategy in place. This way that you can seamlessly adapt to new technology. And integration, what's nice about this is it's often a one-time expense, whereas if you don't have this type of integration in place, you're going to be relying on your operators or your teams to transfer data from one position to another, which could lead to recurring costs and also make it prone to error. Now, integration projects, these should be treated kind of like a living document and they're constantly evolving. So what we recommend is that you should locate an opportunity within your organization and then chip away at these over time. And then as you begin to expand your integration efforts, your whole company will become more digitally synergized. And then the last thing to learn with you guys is to talk about like the work that's involved with this. API integrators can either be a third-party system that you can bolt onto an application, or you could have something custom built. Then this does not need to be a very complex project. An integrator could be as simple as transferring one single piece of information. So in like my example, it was Scout Systems. If an operator was to close out a job when they're using a work instruction platform, rather than having to then go and manually close out the job in the ERP, an API integrator can find out from one platform that that job is now complete. So that way the ERP can easily cancel this thing out and you don't have to do anything else as additional labor. Now, something like that, again, IT could code this project out, or you could hire a local consultant. Now, if I'm understanding correctly, Jake, don't you have some personal experience with technical tooling on this subject?
Yeah, we do. As we were kind of researching this topic, a really good example came to mind. So we have several large curing ovens that we use in our business, and we make composite tooling for composite parts makers. So we've developed some material for layup molds and vacuum fixtures, and in some of our process, we need to cure that material. And our cure cycles can last anywhere from 6 to 16 hours. And so because of that, we were relegated to having somebody sit and babysit the ovens to make sure that they go through the proper ramp cycles, get to temperature, and ramp back down over the course of that. And what we were able to do, and this has been phenomenal for us in terms of efficiency, is we enlisted the help of an integrator that came and hooked all of the controllers to all of our ovens up. We're now online. I can control every aspect of what's going on in those systems by an app on my phone. And it's awesome. It's got our logo in the background, and it seems highly customized, and to some extent it was, but it wasn't difficult, and it really wasn't terribly expensive. And so now on this app, I can control multiple ovens and all of the things behind that are going on. So I can control my temperatures, my blower burner fans, the recirculation fans, all the exhaust fans, all these complex mechanical things are going on within each oven. and multiple ovens and pieces of equipment on our floor. And that's all translated to an app on my phone. And so what that has allowed us to do is anywhere I can get cell service or Wi-Fi, I can control that. And so if I have a 16-hour cycle, now I don't have to have somebody working overtime or a swing shift. We can monitor it, from the comfort of our kitchen. I can set alerts and alarms. So anytime I need to check on something, if I needed to shut something down real quick, it's a push of a button.
It's fantastic. I think it's such a great example. And, the bigger topic here, and I think something you guys have really hit on with the Emerging Technologies Committee, is automation, API as automation. And Jake, I think you gave such a good example, and Ben, you gave such a good description, but it's the ability, it's just a computer ability, if you will, for a machine to talk to another machine, or in your case, Jake, it was your phone as an app talking to the machines.
Yeah, and I think, in discussing with Ben, this isn't something that's brand new, but it is something that we think manufacturers need to really look at and consider where there's additional opportunities. And from my perspective, all of the Industry 4.0, everything automated, all of the robotics, APIs are kind of the backbone to facilitating all of those. So it was really worth digging into a little deeper as a topic.
Well, Ben, I was just going to ask you, you mentioned, a machine communicating with an ERP system. Mm-hmm. But everywhere I go in manufacturing, and it's most places, there's a lot of paperwork floating around. And it seems like APIs is an opportunity to kind of eliminate some of that paperwork.
Yeah, absolutely. My background's in manufacturing engineering, and the thing that I always got frustrated with was it seems like the bulk energy that manufacturers put is how do we make just the production floor more efficient? And we get so good at shaving seconds away from a simple task, whereas the paperwork and everything that goes through the quality test, the documentation, everything that goes from one system to another, all the hands that touch it, all of the labor that goes into it, it's a gross amount of waste. And that's when Jake and I were talking about, what about APIs for this first one? There's so many opportunities. And that's where we were talking about how you should find your low-hanging fruit and take an opportunity to digitize one element, rip that paperwork out, and you start saving all that money. And it's such a simple integration to do. It's not like spending hundreds of thousands of dollars for a robot. It's spending hundreds or thousands to develop something that's going to automate the task of every single person in your plant. It's such an easy ROI.
Now, by the way, Jake, I know you and I, we talked about this in our last committee meeting, but sometimes you had to have people watch the machine, or it was part of their day-to-day. But now that you've freed people up from this, my feeling is that this is something now they can go back and focus on more productive things.
Yeah, there's a couple ways we looked at it. You're absolutely right that it frees those people up to be able to be working on other things. So without changing our head count, we have more capacity. I can be over in the other room working on something else, glance at the app, know that everything that's going on in that oven is working. But again, these cures that take more than 12 hours, that's not somebody who's working an 8-hour day or a 9-hour day can come in, flip it on, and have it be off at the end of the day. It requires more time. So we kind of had a choice. We institute some technology, which we did, or we have to look at how that affects us personnel wise. And so a couple ways we could go about it. One, we increase our head count, and you're paying somebody $20 an hour, you throw benefits on top of that, that's a $50,000 investment. And obviously if we went that route, we would be expecting them to do more than babysit an oven. But it's still an added expense, and even if we didn't add an individual, if we're working overtime, if we're doing 1 cure a week, and it requires 8 hours of overtime, at time and a half and that $20 amount, you know, that's still $12,000 a year. And we're not doing one cure a week, we're doing multiple ones. You know, so 2 cures, it's, you know, $25,000 a year, and just overtime. And so we were quoted on this project by a few different people. And, you know, the average was, you know, 20,000 was on the high end, and, you know, maybe 10 or 12 on the low end. So 12 to 15, we felt like we could get the result we were looking for. We happened to have a contact that we were able to get it done for a lot cheaper, plus a few cases of international currency, typically IPAs. Anyway, for us, that was the calculation we did. So, you know, from a strictly dollars amount, you know, it was a no-brainer. The math is really, really simple. And we're doing high-level napkin math to say, yeah, this is something we should do. But bigger picture, you know, people are happy when they're, you know, not working overtime, not burn out, when they don't have to work the red-eye shift, when they're able to work with other people and interact. And so it created a better environment than the alternative. And it was such an easy, cost-effective solution.
Well, as we talked about, this is automation, and it's automation of communication, if you will, between machines and computers, or computers and computer, you know, software to software, or software to equipment. Anyway, I think the example is excellent. Hey, if you don't mind, I'd like to wrap up here, and thank you first of all. But if you were as a business leader, how do you decide if you need an API or not?
Well, there's the absolute correct way of doing it, and then there's the bare minimum ways. The absolute correct way, I think companies need to create a roadmap of where do we want to be in the next 2 to 5 years when it comes to technology. We got a lot of technology that's adapting, artificial intelligence, IoT. There's going to be a lot of change that's going to happen to manufacturing, and you got to be aware of this, and you got to accept that. So lay out a path where you need to go, and then make sure that the building blocks, aka your ERP or MES or your QMS systems, all have this ability. So if somebody is currently shopping for a system, just make sure that an API is an option. I think that that's the bare basics right now. You don't want to go down a route and integrate in new technology and find out that you're not going to have the ability to integrate one system with another, because I feel like that's going to shoot yourself in the foot in the future. So at the bare minimum, you need to make sure that you have those in place. And then also I would encourage manufacturers to talk with their IT department and find out if you have anybody local in your organization that has API familiarity. And if you don't, it might be a good time just to reach out to some local companies, find a consulting company and get those quotes, because what Jake described was a spectacular application, but you can even go simpler than that. So we worked with some companies that were able to build an API integrator in a matter of a couple hours. So they just had a simple task that they just needed to move from one to another. There was no graphic interface. It was just marrying 2 systems to talk. So you can have very easy systems out there. And I think it's just wise to figure out, can we do this today? Do we have the people today? And where do we want to be in the future?
That's a fantastic description. Now, I want to thank both of you, and this is an opportunity to, from the camp's perspective, because the manufacturing community, things are heating up, technology is coming, it's getting cheaper, it's getting easier to integrate. As Jake, I think you gave such a great example. But this is an opportunity because we're part of this larger manufacturing community with camps. Ben and Jake, they may not know you very well, but Ben, if somebody wanted to get to know more about you, they wanted to say, what does Scout Systems do? Can you give us a quick overview of why somebody would call you for your services?
Yeah, there's a lot of things we do, but the one that I think we stand by the most is that we help manufacturers exclusively become digital in about 90 days. So our team has the technical know-how and the experience. We've created basically a digital lean playbook where we listen and understand the complications of a manufacturer, and then we create a helpful guide of saying these are the milestones that you need to do to significantly improve your operation with minimal cost and minimal resources of your staff's time.
That's fantastic. Great pitch, by the way. Jake, In case they don't know you, and I'm hoping they'll take the time to get to know both of you, but tell us why they might call technical tooling. What's the
Yeah,
pitch?
so technical tooling, we have two specific product offerings or solutions in the tooling world. And they came in reverse order. So first, we make really low CTE layup molds, and we have developed material in-house. It has led to a really efficient process for making the tools. The materials are less expensive compared to similar performing alternatives, and it's just a really good solution if you need a low CT layup mold for composite parts. Our other solution, which came first, was a vacuum fixture material that is essentially a granular media, and it starts out in kind of like a wet sand. And so that allows us to build to near net shape. Again, we have a really efficient build process, minimizes waste, and the end product is probably the most efficient vacuum fixture on the market, because we're able to spread vacuum consistently and evenly across the entire surface area of a part. So those are our two primary product offerings, and we're always developing more.
Wow, Jake, that was a fantastic description for both of you. So to make this easy, I'm going to put a link to your companies and your LinkedIn and all the ways to get a hold of you in the link section of this video. But I want to thank you both for being members of camps, and I know you guys have been great participants. But I just want the listeners to know that we're going to be researching the emerging technology, which is getting cheaper, more available, more easy to use, and bringing that to you on a regular basis. So I want to thank both of you for being here.